Welcome students of grade 8 and peace be upon you. Today we're going to continue our lesson about the immune response, cells, organs and molecules, worksheet 3. At the end of this video, you'll be able to specify the function of bone marrow and thymus and interpret an experiment. You'll need your worksheets, a pencil and a draft paper. Please sit in a quiet place. Prepare your tools, stay optimistic during study and take notes, watch the video more than once, and ask your teacher for more clarification. The last time we talked about the bone marrow and we said that it's responsible for the production of all types of white blood cells: granulocyte, monocyte, and lymphocytes. We mentioned before a mature lymphocyte, but what's maturation of lymphocytes? And where does it take place? Lymphocytes, which are produced by the bone marrow, are called immature lymphocytes since they are unfunctional and can defend against pathogens. Then, lymphocytes undergo maturation in two different organs in order to be mature lymphocytes that are functional and can defend against pathogens. But in which organs do lymphocytes mature? Would the thymus be the site of maturation of lymphocytes? Let's find out. In order to indicate the function of the thymus, the following experiments were performed. Before I show you the experiments, please pause the problem. Remember that the problem should be a question, and let's search for the objective. Excellent. Then, how can we write the problem? The objective is indicate the function of the thymus. Then we should write it as a question. The question would be, what's the function of the thymus? The experiment number 3 shows lot of mice C having intact bone marrow, which means it's the same, not changed, but the thymus was removed. What do you mean by thymus removal? It means that if this is the mouse, then the thymus is being taken out of it. Controlled variable. Please search for the same variable in these two experiments. Excellent. It's intact bone marrow. Presence of intact bone marrow. What about the manipulated variable? We said that the manipulated variable is the difference between the two experiments. Excellent. Its presence or absence of the thymus. Great. Then let's find out the different results. The results of experiment 1: presence of all types of white blood cells. Also in experiment 3, there is presence of all types of white blood cells. In experiment 1, B lymphocytes are mature. Also in experiment 3, B lymphocytes are mature. In experiment 1, T lymphocytes are mature. That means that they are functional. In experiment 3, T lymphocytes are immature, not functional. They can't act. Hence, let's make the analysis of this experiment. First, we should search for the different results between the two experiments. Remember that this is the analysis, then there is no indication. We shouldn't say this indicates that. All types of white blood cells are present and B and T lymphocytes are mature in both experiments where bone marrow was intact. First, I mentioned the same results in order to mention the different results after that. But T lymphocytes are mature only in experiment 1 where thymus was intact, while it was immature in experiment 3 where thymus was removed. Then, what's significance now and why was this result? When we had intact thymus, there were mature T lymphocytes. But when we removed the thymus, there were immature T lymphocytes. Then, what's the role of the thymus? Great! This indicates that thymus is responsible for the maturation of T lymphocytes. Then, let's write the interpretation. All types of white blood cells are present and B and T lymphocytes are mature in both experiments where bone marrow was intact, but T lymphocytes was mature only in experiment 1 where thymus was intact, while it was immature in experiment 3 where thymus was removed. This indicates that the thymus is responsible for the maturation of T lymphocytes. Please now open your worksheets and copy the answer. Then, what's the function of the thymus? Thymus is responsible for maturation of T lymphocytes. Let's find out what's the second function of bone marrow. Bone marrow is responsible for the production of all types of white blood cells: monocyte, granulocyte, immature B lymphocytes, and immature T lymphocytes. The immature T lymphocytes will go to the thymus in order to undergo maturation and become mature T lymphocytes, while the immature B lymphocytes move to the bone marrow in order to undergo maturation. Then, indicate the organ responsible for maturation of B lymphocytes. Great! It's the bone marrow. Then, what's the second function of the bone marrow? Let's indicate in experiment 1, 2, or 3 that shows the function of bone marrow. Excellent! In experiment 3, when the thymus was removed while the bone marrow was intact, B lymphocytes were mature, which means that the bone marrow is responsible for the maturation of B lymphocytes and not the thymus. Why do B and T lymphocytes have different names although they have the same round nucleus? The thymus and bone marrow are two immune organs that are responsible for lymphocyte maturation. Then, the lymphocytes that are matured in the thymus are called T lymphocytes according to its site of maturation, while the lymphocytes that are matured in the bone marrow are called B lymphocytes according to its site of maturation, the bone marrow. Then, B and T lymphocytes are named based on their excellent site of maturation. Then, open your worksheets and fill in the following table by using the text of part B and the answers of part C. So the answers are: as a summary, the bone marrow is responsible for the production of all types of white blood cells: monocyte, granulocyte, immature B lymphocytes, and immature T lymphocytes. The maturation of B lymphocytes takes place in the bone marrow to produce mature B lymphocytes, while the maturation of T lymphocytes takes place in the thymus to produce mature T lymphocytes. And finally, don't forget your assignment. This is all. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Study well and keep safe.